Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into something that I believe everyone can relate to, reflecting on the wisdom we gain over time. Have you ever looked back on your younger self and thought, if only I knew then what I know now? Trust me, I've been there more times than I can count, especially when reflecting on my 20s and 30s. In today's video, I'll be taking you on a journey through time, sharing some of the most powerful lessons I've learned and what I wish I had known earlier. This one's going to be a little reflective, a little emotional, and definitely full of valuable takeaways for anyone, whether you're just starting out in life or looking back with similar thoughts. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive into what I wish I knew in my 20s and 30s. The expectations versus reality of your 20s. When you're in your 20s, the world feels wide open, full of opportunities, and your life is just starting to take shape. There's a lot of pressure to have it all figured out, your career, your relationships, even who you are as a person. The reality, though, is that your 20s are mostly about trial and error, even though society may tell you otherwise. It's a decade where, honestly, we're still growing up. Lesson number 1. It's okay not to have it all figured out. I spent so much time in my 20s stressing about having a plan. I thought by the end of that decade, I should have my dream career, a perfect relationship, a defined sense of self, and every step of my life mapped out. Boy, was I wrong. Life doesn't unfold like a carefully written script, and that's something I wish I could have embraced earlier. It's okay to change your mind about what you want, even if you're 5 or 6 years into a career. It's okay to leave toxic relationships, to not know who you are completely, and to not have everything go according to plan. The expectation that you need to have everything figured out by a certain age is unrealistic and unnecessary. I spent so much of my energy stressing over the perfect plan instead of enjoying the journey, being open to the detours that would have eventually led me to even better outcomes. So here's what I'd tell my 20-something-year-old self: don't be afraid of uncertainty. It's a part of the process, and it doesn't mean you're lost, it just means you're growing. Lesson number 2, learn how to be alone. Even when you're surrounded by people in our 20s, we often get so caught up in relationships, both romantic and social. We define ourselves by the company we keep, the approval we seek, and the dynamics of our friendships and love lives. But one thing I didn't fully understand back then was the importance of learning to be alone. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. In fact, learning to enjoy your own company is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It allows you to understand your needs, your desires, and your boundaries, without the influence of others. You become your own compass. I was always surrounded by friends, co-workers, or a romantic partner, and I didn't carve out enough time to just sit with myself. If I could go back, I'd spend more time listening to my own inner voice, discovering who I was without external influences, and figuring out my likes, dislikes, and passions. This doesn't mean isolating yourself or cutting off relationships. It means not being afraid of solitude, of hearing your own thoughts, and finding peace in your own presence. It will make you stronger, more independent, and more aligned with your true self as you navigate life's ups and downs. Lesson number 3, the importance of personal growth over professional success. There's no shortage of pressure in your 20s to climb the career ladder, make a name for yourself, or chase after promotions and accolades. While career growth is important, one thing I wish I had focused more on was personal growth. Your 20s are a prime time for self-discovery and development, not just in your professional life but in all areas. I put so much emphasis on work that I neglected my emotional well-being, my mental health, and even my spiritual life. I was measuring my worth by my productivity, my job title, and my income. But as I grew older, I realized that none of that mattered if I wasn't happy or fulfilled on a deeper level. I wish I had spent more time investing in personal development, exploring hobbies, traveling, and working on my emotional intelligence. These are the things that will sustain you in the long run, even when your career changes or life throws you a curveball. Personal growth isn't a luxury, it's essential. And it's something I would encourage anyone in their 20s to prioritize as much as, if not more than, professional success. The transition into your 30s, embracing change. Your 30s are a decade of deeper self-awareness. While your 20s are about exploration and experimentation, your 30s are often about settling into who you are. But don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean settling down or playing it safe. It just means you become more in tune with yourself, your boundaries, and what you truly want out of life. Lesson number 4. Don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in my 30s is the importance of letting go, whether it's toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, or even career paths that no longer align with who you are becoming. Letting go is hard. We often cling to what's familiar, even if it's no longer good for us, out of fear of the unknown. In my 30s, I found myself holding on to friendships and professional commitments that weren't healthy for me. I kept telling myself that things would improve or that I owed something to the person or the job because of time and effort I had invested. But the truth is, when you let go of what no longer serves you, you make space for new opportunities, healthier relationships, and more fulfilling experiences. If I could go back, I'd remind myself that letting go is not a failure, it's a form of self-love. It's choosing to prioritize your well-being, your happiness, and your growth over comfort or obligation. Lesson number 5. Health isn't just about your body, it's about your mind too. In your 20s, your body is resilient. You can bounce back from late nights, poor eating habits, and stress. But as I moved into my 30s, I realized that health isn't just about what you eat or how often you exercise. It's also about your mental and emotional well-being. Stress, anxiety, and unresolved trauma have a way of manifesting in the body. In my 30s, I started noticing how mental strain would affect my physical health, whether it was through fatigue, headaches, or digestive issues. Taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body. This means prioritizing mental health, seeking therapy or counseling when needed, practicing mindfulness, and making space for rest and relaxation. If I could go back, I'd tell my younger self to focus on mental wellness earlier. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help or to take a mental health day. In fact, it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Lesson number 6. Your relationships will evolve, and that's okay. As we grow older, our friendships, romantic relationships, and family dynamics evolve. In my 20s, I had this idea that the friends I made in college or my first job would be my lifelong companions. I believed that relationships were meant to be permanent, and if they changed or ended, it was somehow a failure. But the truth is, relationships are fluid. People grow, and sometimes they grow apart. Friendships that were once central to your life may fade, while others deepen unexpectedly. In my 30s, I learned that it's okay for relationships to evolve, and it's a natural part of life's progression. This doesn't mean you don't value the relationships you had in your 20s, but you come to understand that change is inevitable. And that's not a bad thing, it's part of everyone's journey. Some people are meant to walk with you for a season, and others for a lifetime. What I wish I knew about self-improvement and happiness now that I'm older and have walked through the lessons of both my 20s and 30s, the most important realization I've come to is that happiness and self-improvement aren't destinations, they're a journey. And that journey never really ends. Lesson number 7. Happiness isn't a goal, it's a byproduct of living authentically. In my 20s, I thought happiness was something you achieved. You know, like a level you reach after certain milestones, getting the right job, finding the perfect partner, living in the dream city. But happiness isn't a goal, it's a state of being that comes from living in alignment with your values and desires. In my 30s, I started to understand that happiness comes and goes, and it's okay if it's not always present. What's more important is finding contentment and peace in the everyday moments. Happiness is a byproduct of living authentically and being true to yourself, not something to be constantly chased or attained. Lesson number 8. Self-improvement is a lifelong process. Finally, if there's one thing I could tell my younger self, it's that self-improvement is not something you finish. There's no point at which you can say, I'm done, I've improved enough. Life is a continuous process of growth, learning, and evolving. There will always be new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities for self-discovery. The key is to stay open to that process and embrace it with curiosity instead of fear or frustration. So, those are just a few of the lessons I wish I had known in my 20s and 30s. I hope they resonate with some of you, whether you're just starting out or reflecting on your own journey. Life is a beautiful, messy, unpredictable thing, and the more we learn to embrace the twists and turns, the more fulfilling it becomes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this, and drop a comment below sharing one thing you wish you could tell your younger self. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.